They didn't sell you a drink, they sold you a story. A story where poison equals celebration, where dependence equals culture, where a carcinogen equals self-care. And if you think I'm being dramatic, good, because that reaction is exactly what they're counting on. See, the alcohol industry is one of the only industries on earth that can sell a dependence-forming, psychoactive toxin and still be seen as wholesome. They show you weddings, friends laughing, rooftop sunsets, a cold bottle beating with condensation like it's the cure for adulthood. But behind that image is a business model that only works when two groups keep drinking: heavy drinkers and people who start early. That's it. And today I'm gonna walk you through every major lie they've used to keep that machine running. So once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because the trap only works when you can't see the trap. And very quickly, if you want instant access to a brand new video training that I've just finished showing you how to control alcohol in as little as 48 hours, then click the link in the description. This new method is not about using willpower therapy or AA meetings. It's totally different. I do not publish this video anywhere else online, and it's already changing thousands of lives. So click the link below for instant access. Once you're on the next page, enter your name and email address, and your free training will begin. It takes just 7 minutes to watch, but it'll feel like somebody flicks a switch in your brain. And honestly, I'm not sure when I'll start charging for this 7-minute video training. That's how good it is. But whilst it's still available, click the link below, enter your name and email address, and watch that video now. I used to think my drinking was a me problem, like I was missing some piece other people had. Why can they stop at one? Why do I keep thinking about it? Why does my brain negotiate with itself like a hostage situation? And then I started studying alcohol properly. Not the cute version, not the wine mum version, not the beer is basically bread version. The actual substance, ethanol, a toxic chemical your body treats like a threat. And the more I learned, the more I realized something uncomfortable. This wasn't just personal weakness. This was conditioning, plus biology, plus a $1 trillion industry pressing its thumb on the scale. You didn't choose alcohol the way you think you did. Most of us were trained from childhood. We watched adults toast at birthdays, weddings, holidays, funerals. We watched movies where every meaningful moment had a glass in it. And by the time you're old enough to say yes, your brain already believes alcohol gives you something valuable. Relaxation, confidence, connection, relief. That's not a coincidence. That's marketing. And marketing is just psychology weaponized. So let's break the spell. Let's go lie by lie, because the lies aren't random, they're strategic. They're designed to make you do 3 things. 1, minimize risk. 2, blame yourself. 3, keep consuming. Let's start with the biggest lie of all. Moderate drinking is good for you. This one is the crown jewel, the propaganda coup. It's good for the heart. It helps you live longer. A glass of red wine is basically medicine. Here's what they don't tell you. Most of the benefit came from bad comparisons. They compared moderate drinkers to non-drinkers, without separating out former drinkers who quit because they were already sick. So the study design quietly did this. It put unhealthy ex-drinkers in the abstainer group, which makes moderate drinkers look healthier by comparison. That's how you get the famous J curve, the idea that a little alcohol is protective, but when you remove that bias, the magic disappears. And even if you ignore the hard stuff entirely, there's one word that ends the debate: carcinogen. Alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen, same category as asbestos and tobacco smoke. And cancer risk starts at low levels. Not heavy drinking, not alcoholism, the first drink. So ask yourself, if alcohol really was a health product, why does your body treat it like poison the second it enters your bloodstream? Why does it metabolize it as an emergency? Why does it produce toxic byproducts like acetaldehyde in the process? Because it's not medicine. It's a drug with good PR. And that leads to the next lie. Drink responsibly. I want you to imagine a crack dealer. Every time he hands over the bag, he smiles warmly and says, "Now enjoy responsibly." It's absurd, but somehow when alcohol companies do it, we call it public health. Drink responsibly is not a health message. It's a legal shield, a branding strategy. It does 3 sneaky things at once. It implies alcohol is fine as long as you behave. It shifts blame from the drug to the person. It avoids the long-term consequences completely. Notice what drink responsibly campaigns focus on. Don't drink and drive. Don't do something stupid. Don't lose control. All short-term stuff. But where are the warnings about cancer? Heart damage? Sleep destruction? Brain shrinkage? Depression and anxiety? They're missing because that would be honest, and honesty would reduce sales. Drink responsibly is what you say when your product is harmful, but you still want to sell it. It's not guidance, it's misdirection, and it keeps you trapped in the same internal logic. If I'm struggling, I'm doing it wrong. Not this drug is engineered to create the struggle. Which brings us to the lie they're pushing hardest right now. Alcohol helps your mental health. This is the most sinister one because it preys on people who are hurting, lonely, stressed, anxious, burnt out. Perfect. Here's your solution: a drink. But think about what alcohol actually is. A depressant. It messes with your brain's emotional regulation system. It disrupts sleep, especially deep sleep, so you wake up with less resilience. It spikes stress hormones after the buzz fades. And it trains your brain to associate relief with consumption. So now you're not just anxious, you're anxious and dependent on the ritual. It's relief on credit. You borrow calm from tomorrow, and tomorrow collects interest. That's why people say, I drink to relax. But the real pattern is, I drink because alcohol trained my nervous system to feel worse without it. So when an alcohol exec says, beer can reduce loneliness, what they're really saying is, we found a new emotional wound to monetize. And the tragedy is, it works. Because alcohol doesn't just numb pain, it numbs the part of you that would take action to fix the pain. You don't call a friend, you don't change your life, you don't face the thing. You pour a chemical over your nervous system and call it self-care. And slowly, you become more isolated, more numb, less alive. And then they hit you with the next lie. We don't target kids. They always say this. They'll show you age gates on websites. Responsible marketing codes. Little disclaimers. But here's what matters. Underage drinking isn't a side effect. It's a revenue stream. When people start earlier, they normalize earlier. When they normalize earlier, they drink more across the lifespan. When they drink more across the lifespan, shareholders get richer. So ask yourself, if they truly didn't want young people drinking, why is alcohol marketing everywhere young people are? Sports, music festivals, movies, streaming, influencers, social media algorithms. And don't get fooled by the line, youth drinking is going down. Even if it is, in some places, the industry doesn't get credit for that. They fight the very policies that reduce youth exposure. Ad restrictions, price increases, stronger enforcement. And here's the uncomfortable reality. You don't need to run ads that explicitly say, this is for teens, to target teens. You just need to associate your product, belonging, status, confidence, fun, rebellion, because those are teenage vulnerabilities, and those vulnerabilities are universal. Which brings us to their favorite disguise. We're responsible corporate citizens. This is where they dress up the machine. CSR campaigns, community partnerships, scholarships, sustainability reports, awareness initiative. It's clever because it creates a false feeling. Maybe these companies are actually good. But CSR in harmful industries has a core purpose: to buy legitimacy, to buy access, to delay regulation. Because once you're seen as a partner, you get invited to policy tables, you get photographed with officials, you get treated like part of the solution, while you keep selling the cause of the problem. It's regulatory capture dressed as goodwill. And there's a deeper psychological trick here. CSR makes you feel better about drinking. It gives your brain a moral loophole. It's fine, they're doing good things, so you keep buying, and they keep smiling. Meanwhile, the cost of alcohol harm stays where it's always been: on hospitals, on families, on mental health, on violence, on lost potential, which leads into the lie they always deploy when governments try to fight back. If you raise taxes, smuggling will explode. Every time. It's like a script. Higher taxes will hurt the economy. It will fuel illicit markets. It will punish responsible drinkers. Here's the reality. Price is one of the strongest levers in public health. When alcohol gets more expensive, consumption drops, especially heavy consumption. And heavy consumption is where most harm lives. So what is the industry actually protecting? Not moderate drinkers. They're protecting volume. And the smuggling argument is usually exaggerated for one reason: fear works. If you can scare governments into thinking regulation backfires, you keep the status quo. And the status quo is profitable, because while they talk about the economy, Alcohol harm quietly drains economies through healthcare costs, lost productivity, policing, accidents, family breakdown. So even if taxes reduce sales, they often save society far more than they cost. But the industry doesn't measure success in reduced deaths. It measures success in increased revenue. Which brings us to the next lie, the one that makes them look green. We protect communities and the environment. Sustainability has become a marketing aesthetic. Minimalist cans, green labels, water stewardship promises, circular economy buzzwords. But behind the branding, beer is resource intensive. It takes huge amounts of water. And when major producers move into regions with water scarcity, communities pay the price. Not in headlines, in daily life. Less drinking water, lower groundwater, more conflict. And here's what's insidious. When people complain, companies often point to efficiency metrics. We reduced water per liter of product, which sounds good until you remember the scale. If you produce hundreds of millions of liters, efficient extraction can still mean billions of liters pulled from local ecosystem. So the lie isn't always, we use no water. The lie is, because we publish a sustainability report, you should trust us. But sustainability reports don't change incentives. Profit does. And when profit depends on growth, growth eventually eats whatever's in its way, even communities, even water. Which takes us to the political lie. Voluntary self-regulation is enough. This is the industry's masterpiece because it sounds reasonable. Let us police ourselves. Translation, please don't pass laws that reduce our sales. Self-regulation is what an industry asks for when it knows regulation would work because real evidence-based policies are boring and devastating to profit. Higher taxes, advertising bans, reduced outlet density, clear warning labels, limits on sponsorships. Those policies reduce harm. So the industry does what it always does. It forms front groups. It funds balanced messaging. It lobbies behind closed doors. It waters down international targets. And the public remains stuck with the illusion. This is just personal choice. It's choice inside a system designed to push you toward consumption. A system that taught you alcohol equals reward, relief, belonging, identity. So you keep drinking, even when you don't want to, even when it's costing you, even when you're waking up thinking, what am I doing? And here's the part that matters most. When you see the lies clearly, your relationship with alcohol starts to change automatically. Not through willpower, through perception. Because the desire to drink isn't just a craving, it's a belief that alcohol gives you something. And beliefs collapse when you expose the scam, the real truth they never want you to feel in your bones. Alcohol is not a personality test. You're not weak because you struggle. This drug changes the brain. It trains the nervous system. It creates its own demand. And it sits inside a culture where refusing it makes you weird, while consuming it makes you normal. That's an engineered trap. And once you see that, the shame starts to fall away. Because shame keeps you drinking. Shame says, I'm broken. Truth says, I was conditioned. Shame says, I need to fix myself. Truth says, I need to see the product clearly. So if you're watching this and you're under the legal drinking age, don't let them rent space in your brain early. That's the whole game. You don't need a label. You don't need a lifetime identity as a problem. You need clarity. Because clarity is what breaks spells. And once the spell breaks, you stop asking, why can't I control this? And you start asking the real question, why did I ever call this normal? That's the moment the fog lifts. And when it lifts, you don't just change what you do, you change what you are. You go from drinker to non-drinker, not by force, by truth. Because when you finally see alcohol for what it is, a toxin with good marketing, the benefits stop looking like benefits and the lies stop working. That's freedom. And they can't sell to someone who's free. And if you want to see the physical upgrades, the deep sleep, the clearer skin, the energy, the weight normalizing that happened after 90+ days of sobriety, click the video on your screen now.